The name of this program is Something to Talk About, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here at the Senior Center, we offer a discussion on all kinds of topics. It is a program that's sponsored by Fieldstone Communities at Bainbridge Island, which offers care on Rolling Bay, Washington, right up there, not far from Bay Hay and Feed. They offer day stay and respite programs in addition to memory care, and they are in the process of building an independent living and assisted living facility as well. To learn more or tour their facilities, you can call 360-689-4314. I'd also like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the ancestral homeland of the Coast Salish people, our neighbors, the Suquamish tribe, the people of the clear salt water. We honor them and we are grateful for their hospitality. Today's topic, BI Reads, Bainbridge Island Reads. The City of Bainbridge Island, its Race Equity Advisory Committee, the Bainbridge Public Library, Eagle Harbor Books, have all come together to launch this BI Community Reads program, with the first topic being BI Reads for Justice. It's a 6-month program to kick us off on community reading, and it will run from now through March of 2023. And we're going to talk about this first program with some of the folks who are behind it and helping us as a community come together. And our first book is Stamped: Racism, Antiracism, and You, which is a book by Jason Reynolds and Ibram Kendi, Ibram X Kendi. And let's see if someone here might be willing to give us sort of a overview of what the idea, the objective of this program, and why Stamped is the first book on the list. I see Laura Van Dyke, you're one of the volunteers who stepped in to kind of help make this happen. Can you kick off the conversation a little bit?
Sure. Thanks, Reed. Thanks for hosting us in this really interesting program. I'm really excited about the city and REACT sponsoring it for our community. So the first question some people are asking is, what is a community reads program? And really what that is, and we've done something like this similar through the library system, where we just have a one book read all throughout Kitsap County, and then there are events and conversations associated with it. So it's very similar to that. Unfortunately, the library system has put a hold on their one read program for a while, and I'm not 100% sure why, but when this idea came about to have a community read, the library is actually very supportive. And so we thought that, one way to kind of bring our community together is by having a community reads program. So, Blair's not here right now, but I'll just say a little bit about, he is a big fan of community reads, where he comes from. In a couple of the communities that he led, they also had community reads programs, and he found them to be really a great tool to bring people together and to have conversations.
So Blair, when you say Blair, you're referring to Blair King, the city manager of Bainbridge Island.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. So that's essentially what a community reads is. As you mentioned, it's going to be a 6-month program, October 2022 through March 2023. This program is sponsored by the City of Bainbridge Island and its Race Equity Advisory Committee, in partnership with Eagle Harbor Books and the Bainbridge Library. We're also reaching out to all the nonprofits on the island to make sure they're aware of it and can let their communities know that this is happening. And there are also several groups that are creating events in conjunction with this book. And so we're excited to have that.
So we have Olivia Hall and Savannah Ravelsted, who both serve on that Race Equity Advisory Committee. I wonder if you each might take a turn at talking at what you might hope could come out of, or at least some of the things that might come out of the community coming together to read Stamped.
I think it's one of the most crucial parts of why the Race Equity Advisory Committee was created was to bring community together. And so that is literally one of our main goals. And with this BI Reads program, it's a way for REAC and the city to kind of come together and say, we support this. This is a really great idea. It's helped, communities all over. And why not bring it to Bainbridge? What do we benefit from reading a book together? Well, we benefit from all of us kind of collaborating with one mind and reading this, and everybody has different opinions. Yes. And so it'll be nice to kind of be able to have conversations about it. And I think that's really where, when people get in the thick of learning about, injustice, racism, stuff like that, it's really beneficial to all speak the same language. And if we're reading the same book, we're kind of using the same language. So that, I think that's one of the real reasons why this is so important for the community that we have, as well as for Bainbridge.
Great. Olivia, anything to add to that?
No, I just, I want to kind of, I guess, reiterate what Savannah just said is coming to this conversation about race and racism, with a common truth and a common understanding of a book that is authoritative and accessible and frankly just fun also to me to read. I thought it was just really fun. I also listened to the audiobook, which I highly recommend for those who like to multitask, because it's I enjoyed it. But yeah, I think it's, just to reiterate what Savannah is saying is that we come to this conversation with a common language and a common understanding of our American history. And I think that this book is really, and, stamped from the beginning. And I forget what the one for kids, is it called Stamp for Kids?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That in this moment in our history, this is one of the most accessible and authoritative books on race and racism in this country. And I think that, it would behoove all of us to read it, and then discussing it is even, the community events around it are even more, we will all learn from these. And I think that that's just such an opportunity for a community to be able to do that. So
I also feel as though this may be one of the books that has been most talked about in our national politics as an example of arguments or disagreements about what and how to tell our national story. And so it is important, it seems to me, to give these authors the chance to tell their side, their position, and listen, rather than sort of talking based on what we've heard or what we've picked up from the news media, which, just at least spending the time to basically listen. Earlier this week, we had a conversation here at Something to Talk about compassionate listening. Mm-hmm. And so to me, it makes sense that even if you think that this might not be a book that you're going to agree with when you pick it up, or even if particularly you don't think it's a book you're going to agree with, it might be worth spending the time to basically listen to these authors tell their point of view and describe the history as they have experienced it and recognize it, before you jump to a answer right away. Anne Lovejoy, you're here, and I know that we at the Senior Center have been talking about ways that we might be one of the nonprofits that could participate in this. Where maybe you could talk a little about some of the, at least in general terms, what we're thinking about that we might do.
Definitely. Well, for one thing, we've got some books, which I think is a great way to start the whole process off, right? And for another, we've decided that we're going to have some book club meetings that will be open to anybody of any age. And they'll be called kind of rolling book clubs, in that you don't have to come, if we have 2 or 3 a month, we haven't decided exactly yet. You don't have to come to all of them. You can drop in. You don't have to have read X number of chapters, but it will be a place to really kind of talk with neighbors about what your ideas and responses to some of the information that's presented. What is it all about for you? And what kinds of questions does it bring up for you? And talking together like this, we find at the Senior Center, I think we're really blessed to be able to have really rich, amazing conversations with people of all ages. And that really helps build community in profound ways. And I think talking about racism, I love it. It's like racism, anti-racism, and hello, you, right? It's all down to us. And looking at that together, like we can hold hands. It's not that scary, right? But having the opportunity to join in with some of these book clubs, I think will be really awesome for a lot of people who maybe feel a little disconnected in their reading.
So I know it's very early days. You have launched this program, and you're kind of letting the word. This is one of the ways we're trying to get the word out about this going on. Do you already have some feedback from other organizations about ways that they might participate?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. We've connected with Barn, and they are looking at, so a lot of the nonprofits are talking about their staff reading the book together and their boards reading the book together as a way to get this book out there. And having those conversations, I think, are really important from a nonprofit perspective. And so we're hoping that happens. I know Barn is excited about that, and we did meet with them, and we're hoping to continue those conversations. There, obviously, the Senior Center is, you guys have been fantastic. I mean, purchasing 100 books for this program is incredibly generous. And making this accessible is one thing that's really important to the city and REAC and those of us that are volunteering to support this program. So part of the ways that this book is accessible is, it is for sale at Eagle Harbor Books, and they are giving us a generous discount. So I would encourage anyone who can to go there and purchase the book. There's also the library has several copies that are available to borrow, and they're working with Overdrive to see if they can get free copies of the ebook and the audiobook through the library system. So they're working on that right now. And we had a generous donation from Libro FM, which is an audiobook organization that connects with independent bookstores. They're based in Poulsbo, actually, and they donated 20 books via Libro FM. So we have the QR code for that, and we are just right now trying to figure out, where to get this code out. So the Senior Center will be one spot, and probably Bainbridge Library will be the other spot. As quickly as we can, kind of moving all of these things forward. The other thing that we really liked about this particular book, and maybe just a little bit more information about why this book. This book has been in conversation for a while, nationally and locally. And during some community conversations, the idea of reading this particular book, which I'll show you, it's this particular book, because there are a couple other versions. And but this is actually 8th grade curriculum at Bainbridge High School, or I'm sorry, Bainbridge School District. And during a conversation with the community, and we were talking about this book and about how it's about the history of racism and the fight against racism in the US. One person said, well, can we read it too? And those of us on the call were like, oh yeah, that is a really good idea. And so the idea of reading the same book that the 8th graders are reading was appealing. And like what Olivia said, this book is particularly accessible and fun. I really enjoyed reading it also. I thought it was really informative. There were things that I didn't know. And that adds to my learning, and it helps my vocabulary, and it helps my practice to have these conversations. So the other thing we really like about this book is it is available in many formats. It comes in the hardcover, audiobook, ebook, Washington talking books in Braille. It comes in Spanish. It has an adult version called Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram Kendi, and then a younger kiddos book that is called Stamped for Kids. So all of that we think lends to the accessibility of this book.
Great. So in addition to nonprofits and boards, I'm thinking families and neighborhood groups and church groups or synagogues, anybody who thinks they might be able to put together a series would be a great, this would be a great opportunity for them to participate.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, so we're just recommending people, get the book, find the book, borrow the book, however, read the book. And then
maybe not steal this book, as Abby.
Do not steal the book. There you go. One qualifier that we'll throw in there. There's more information on the city's website. If you go to the city's website, they have a button called Engage Bainbridge. That's just a little bit down from the top. If you click on that, you'll see this program. It pops right up and it says stamped. There's updated information that's put on there right now every week because things are moving so quickly. And you can also sign up to be notified when new information gets posted. So we're hoping that that's a good way for people to stay in touch with what we're doing. And then, thanks, Reed. There you go. Engage Bainbridge. Oh, and even more. So there's a button up top that's called Engage Bainbridge that'll always take you to it. And it looks like right now that's our press release that came out about the book.
Well, I would like to, if there's anybody else who has a comment or reaction, thoughts, questions, Anne, you have your hand up. If you could.
Yeah, one of the things we're going to do in my family is have a family read so that we get the audio one for the kids and they can listen together, all of us listening together. There's at the library, the Libby free app has the kids version, as well as the teen version, as well as the adult version, all that you can listen to or borrow. But I thought as we'll do a family listening together. And then I love the multi-generational conversations that come out of things like this. And it's really helpful to know what your kids are hearing and what they know. As grandparents, I think, or parents, it's rich to share that experience and really be able to talk about it and hear what their fresh ideas are. So all that kind of multi-generational stuff is perfect for this book.
And Sheila was asking which version we're using, and you held up a copy.
Yep. So this is the stamped Racism, Antiracism in You by Jason Reynolds and Ibram Kendi.
This is the one that I just picked up at the library.
Yeah, that's the one for kids, which is just a little bit younger than this one, but with a lot of the same information. It's just
so I'm thinking based on what you said a minute ago and what we just were discussing, Sheila, any version of this book is probably suitable for beginning the conversation. The books that we are handing out or that the library is trying to compile are probably the youth version, the 8th grade curriculum version. But if you have a copy of the original that Dr. Kendi wrote to begin with, Kat is holding up one now. If we could just, let me see if I can spotlight that for everybody. If you have that one, you can read that one. If you have a different version, it's all going to play in. And as Anne said, I think that even if you haven't started to read, or if you're starting to read and you find some of these community discussions, you can certainly participate regardless of whether you've started it. It will be more useful perhaps to have some of the language, as we heard, the nomenclature, so you know what people are talking about when they start to give shortened versions of concepts and ideas. Kimmy, if you would unmute, that'd be great.
Hi, I want to thank all the people who came up with this idea. I like the idea that it's more than just 1 month, that it is a prolonged discussion. Having tried to initiate this idea in another group, let's say, I think the fact that what I want, I think whoever's in charge about making some of these decisions really, I hope, will think about how the community events will really make inclusive to people who don't already have a leaning toward this. I mean, if you see my library, it's this long, and I look at the people here, and it's like we're preaching to the choir. And I'm really interested in, I love the term compassionate, listening. I mean, Debbie's all about that, but, and all of us should be, and I think we are. However, when we get into our little groups, we can be forming an echo chamber. And I'm really worried about our just state of the union, I guess, and we're a subset of that. And how, so if we can make truly participatory ideas that are really maybe foreign to us, and maybe even kind of frightening to us, but if we can listen compassionately and find those common strands of concern, because I ultimately believe people are good. And so just because I hang around with certain people, those aren't the only good people. I clearly know that. So that's what I guess what I'm asking is, for me, the true measure of success of a community activity like this, where is going to be the participation of groups that we normally would not find around this conversation. And that's
right. That is a both an invitation and a challenge, I guess, in a way. And I'm thinking that one of the ideas of a community reads program is that it becomes something that you might bump into in different places, like maybe maybe somebody in your bridge group suggests, hey, they're doing this thing, let's consider reading it looks like maybe if we read the 4Kids version, we might be able to do it in a weekend. So maybe we'll do that. Then we'll know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, Reed, because Kimmy, thank you so much for saying that. That is at the top of what I'm hearing from both the city and REAC. How do we include everyone in this conversation? And one thing that we found that we're going to try is there's a structured conversation that's called living room conversations. And it is a model where people can come together either in a group or online. And it focuses on people's lived experiences. And so we like to think of it as a no shame, no blame model that can just help people talk about difficult topics. And part of it is that everyone that participates agrees to these conversation agreements that include being curious, listening to learn, showing respect, suspending judgment, noting common ground as well as differences, being authentic, and then welcoming that from others. And we're going to have these forms or these guides included in for people who want to read the book with their book club or any group. We'll be offering some things likely at the senior center and at the library and Eagle Harbor, because you're right. If we're only talking to the folks that completely agree with this idea, we're not really moving it forward. And the intent is how do we have this hard conversation, difficult conversation for many of us, in a way that people don't feel like they're being attacked for not maybe being as far along in this conversation as they'd like to be. Even I think it's a fearful place to say something wrong or make a mistake. And we are trying to, I know the city and REAC, and I'll let Olivia and Savannah chime in here too, but that's the whole idea, is how do we set this up? And that is at the forefront of our minds right now. And hopefully this structure will help us. Olivia or Savannah, do you have any thoughts?
I'm hoping Savannah will jump in because she has a little bit more background on the programming than I do.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with Laura. It's very much about how we can do this together. It's very much about, I mean, Olivia, you're new to React, so like, do you know, how did you see it outside? Like coming in as an outsider from Bainbridge and then into React, how does that, like, what did you see that you needed from the outside? Like, is BI Reads for Justice one of something that, I mean, it feels to me like something that I could have wanted when I was a child growing up on Bainbridge. So, like, as somebody who has been on the outside of React and then come in, have you seen that? Like, is that an encouragement? Is that like people are like, oh, yeah, that's a really good idea?
I think I understand your question correctly, but I think that the whole, what you said in the beginning is really true. And I think that is like a really core component of this program, is that it's building community. It's building, community through conversation, through difficult conversations, and also making these difficult conversation spaces, places where people can feel discomfort and get really comfortable with feeling discomfort. I know Debbie's shaking her head because I know that's like her thing, but yeah, I think it's like, it's really important, and is our primary mode of growth and of understanding. And I think that's what React wants to do on a larger level. And I think that that's this program is going to, it's just is a really great component of that, and we're thrilled to be sponsoring
part of it. Yeah. I'd say, as somebody, again, wouldn't it be really cool if you were in the grocery line with your 12-year-old and you were talking to your 12-year-old about it, and there's somebody behind you with another kid who's 12 as well, and they're like, oh, you're reading that book too? Oh, I like this part. What part did you like? Those things in small communities, because that happens to me all the time. I get into the line at TNC and I'm talking about something and somebody's like, oh, I heard about that. How was that event? Blah, blah, blah. So, having such a small community, that kind of conversation that can just pop up at any time is really important, I feel.
Yeah, I also want to shout out that this program it goes until March, correct? It's a 6-month thing, which means right smack dab in the middle is the holiday gift giving season. A great gift.
There you go.
Under the table, under the tree, or wherever you give your gifts is, maybe a 3-pack book gift.
Yeah. Yep. Make it a racial justice Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Jane, you took your microphone off. I wondered if you had something you wanted to say here. You had, maybe not. You're
off.
open. No, it's on. Did you have something you wanted to throw in here?
No, I'm just curious. I don't live on the island, but I'm trying to integrate myself as much as possible for prolonged visits here. And so I'm really curious. I like this topic. I'm really excited about everything that I see the senior center doing. So I'm just kind of gathering information.
Okay, well, I think that we have talked about getting our act together by the first of the year. It's going to take us, we want to, kind of roll out a plan. This launched in October, which is, almost over. So we're going to scramble. But as Ann said, we did purchase some books, and we probably will make those available sooner than January. But our idea of programming and responding will be first of the year. And Ann, your hand is up again.
Yeah, I'm curious about whether the city council and the city staff are going to be reading along with us. I don't know if anybody.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so the city did present the books to city council earlier this month. This is a program that was approved by the city council. There's a little bit of funding, and so my understanding is yes, the city council will be reading it. I know that there's a plan to present the books also to REAC, I think next week. That leads us actually to our first event that's coming up. I don't know that we've specifically mentioned it, but would like to hear. Our first real event here will be Wednesday, November 9th, and it's from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Eagle Harbor Books. And it is a community conversation around the question, why talk about race on Bainbridge Island? It's going to be co-hosted by Chastity Malatessa, who is one of the leaders of the Multicultural Advisory Council for the school district, and Brandy Bispham, who actually, she's a Woodward middle school teacher who teaches this book. They are going to have host a comfortable conversation, let's say, with folks from our many sectors of our community, because it's rolling out so quickly. We don't have everybody that said yes yet, but our plan is to have someone representing business and government, REAC, education, environment, and nonprofit around this question. And so we're hoping everyone can attend. We'd love to have a good crowd for this. We also are working to get it videotaped and hopefully posted on YouTube, so we can share it for those folks that can't join us. But that's our first official one, and we do have some other ideas of events that will be forthcoming, but would be very interested in hearing ideas or questions that are on your mind. Yeah, any of those things.
So I'll just throw in here the email address. If you want to reach out with a question or a comment, you can write to bireadsforjustice, all one word, at gmail.com. bireadsforjustice@gmail.com. Yes, Jane.
Yeah, because I don't live on the island, I'm trying to kind of figure how I can participate in as much as possible in listening, like the event at the bookstore would not be Zoomed, but you would videotape it and then put it up on YouTube. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think we're still working that out. My understanding is we have the option of possibly doing it via Zoom, like a hybrid event, and that would then also be recorded and put on YouTube. It's the city's decision, and this opportunity came up yesterday. So we'll once we know. If you're following the senior center, you're going to get the information, because they are the best at in my opinion, dispensing information. And
all of the events and things will be posted through the senior center newsletter.
Yeah.
We'll do what we can through the newsletter. There's also as I'll put in the link of the video when we put this up, you can go to the website on the city, which is also maintaining a website web page. Anne Lovejoy.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that we also were thinking about doing some hybrid book groups or Zoom book groups for exactly that, for people who are not necessarily able to get to the center. And so there will be some of those opportunities too, for sure.
Good. Great.
That's great. Thank you, guys.
Any other comments or questions? I am really excited about this. I think that it's a great topic, because it is something that we have all been thinking about over the past few years, and the conversations have been very sort of politically dangerous in a way. We're afraid to talk about some of this stuff. We aren't sure necessarily that it is polite conversation. And so being able to have the kind of framework that that this community reads offers, I think is going to be great to have that kind of ground rules, as you said, Laura. And I'm looking forward to helping to dispense the information about how to have an open and friendly conversation about things in a way that even if you're going into it thinking, I don't know how I feel about this. So, in fact, maybe, as I said at the beginning, especially if you don't know how you feel about this.
I'm wondering, if you want people, like if anybody can start a book group, and if you want them to kind of check in with you in a way, or like to see where the book clubs are, or will there be any sort of, if you will, intro or training session for the people leading the book groups or anything like that? Just wondering if there's anything at that you.
Oh, that's a great question. Yes, we are developing this on the fly. So one thing we are talking to Eagle Harbor Books and the library about is, advertising this program. We have so many book clubs, existing book clubs on this island. So making sure that they all know that this is happening. A lot of book clubs pick their books in January, so that might be a time when this could happen. In addition to the model, the conversation model, we'll be providing, those are going to be available by PDF, and we'll definitely have those available at all of those locations. And the nice thing about the living room conversation is something that I was trained in because I wanted to know how to do it. But it's an open platform organization that really is trying to get people talking about difficult topics. And it prides itself on being, you do not have to be trained. All you have to do is be able to read, follow the rules, and there's a timeout sign if somebody forgets the rules, and you kind of take a deep breath and you just start again. And I've actually experienced this. I had a couple people reach out to me, questioning some of this work. And I said, I'd be happy to meet with you. Let's, would you mind following this conversation? And it was really good. It was really good. And I highly recommend it. Everyone has a different lived experience. We know what we know when we know it. And it's really not for any of us to judge anyone else about where they are in this space. And so I'm hopeful that that's kind of enough to kind of like keep things going. But I hear you when you say, well, maybe we could prepare or have access to, well, now what? I've read the book. I've had some thoughtful conversations. What are some other opportunities? And I think that's a really good idea, and one that we haven't done yet.
I also note that this, as we said earlier, is a much discussed book. There's a lot of material online for somebody who's trying to facilitate this, study guides and so forth, that if you wanted to sort of start the conversation rolling, there's material in addition to whatever we might get from the organizers.
Yeah. And one thing I would just want to throw out there, because you never know who knows who, is there's the possibility that the author, Jason Reynolds, could come to the island. He's going to be in Seattle in March. So very nice timing. And he's part of the arts and lecture series. So he's already going to be, nearby. We are sending him letters. We are checking with people to see if someone actually knows him. We have a lot of folks on this island that are authors and part of groups that run in this circle. So we're just putting it out there. If you know him, or if you know someone who knows him and want to ask him to come over, we're looking to see if we can provide any kind of support for that. But the idea that we could hear from him individually, I think would, or in person would be, I think, a real wonderful thing. So just, it's one of those, if you don't ask for it, right? You just.
That's right. Putting it out there to the universe, as they say.
You never know. Yeah.
And I'd like to, again, thank all of you for putting it out there in our universe. And I look forward to this being the beginning of a conversation. And certainly, as this progresses, feel free to reach out to us, and we can have another conversation like this about how it's going in a month or two.
That's so
Thanks.
great. And just a big shout out also to the city for just wholeheartedly jumping in on this, the city council for approving it right away. I mean, there wasn't even conversation. They just said, yep. REAC for all of their support. They're really helping guide this program, the programming, all of that right now, which is just so valuable. And really to all of you that are interested in this program. And we're really excited to see how this is going to go. It is a pilot project. Our goal is that we will do this every October to March. So we'll see how that goes. This conversation, we're not going to solve it with one book or one conversation or one 6-month series of conversations. So we're just really excited to get this started and hear from all of you. And hopefully you guys can all join us.
Also, I don't know if I can say this on behalf of REAC. I think that we just need to give a shout out to Laura and Jana and everybody who is doing so much work to get this off the ground. I mean, we are supporters. The city is supporting, but you guys are really doing all of the legwork, and it is humbling and just awesome to watch you guys work. So thank you guys for
ourselves forward to do this. It's pretty cool to see folks wanting to forward the conversation. So we highly appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And also a big shout out to my co-organizer, Jana, of course, Essery. She unfortunately couldn't make it today, but yeah, without her, this would not be happening. So, big thanks to her.